So maybe you've been called upon to solo over some tunes, but you're really not comfortable because you just don't know the tunes. Or maybe you want to expand your jazz repertoire, but you may have learned a few tunes, but you can't recall them, even stuff you learned 2 weeks ago. Well, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Donna Schwartz from DonnaSchwartzMusic.com, the site to bring your saxophone playing up to the next level. So I had a whole bunch of questions this week that really revolved around how do you learn tunes? Well, before we get there, let's talk about the 3 mistakes that most musicians make when learning tunes. The first one is huge. They focus on learning the individual notes of the melody. Okay, when you take something in isolation, it's really hard to remember what you just did. It's sort of like trying to learn a telephone number one digit at a time. Okay, that makes it really, really tough. So now I will say this though, if you know music theory, like key signatures, how to form chords, your major, minor scales, your modes, that will help you in the process. But still, taking notes in isolation is definitely a mistake. The next mistake that most people make is that they ignore how the melody fits in with the rhythm section, how it fits in terms of the chords, okay, how it fits in harmonically. Again, taking things in isolation will make it extremely difficult. And this kind of relates to the third mistake. All these are really, really related. I find when people try to memorize melodies or memorize tunes, they forget about the rhythm. They don't feel the rhythms. They don't feel how the rhythms relate to what the rhythm section is doing. And that just makes it that much harder. And when people try to play those tunes that they think they've memorized, they're off in their timing. They're off in the timing of the rhythms, but they're also off in the timing of where the melody sits with the chords. So you need to take that melody in whole with what everything's going on. Okay? So now, how do we learn tunes? All right, well, the first step that is this. You should take simple songs to start with. And it could be standards like Satin Doll. It could be modal tunes, although So What's a great tune, but there's not really a melody unless you learn the bass line too. Tunes that are a mid-tempo. You don't want to take something that's blazing fast. You don't want to take something that's really slow because ballads are harmonically very challenging. And people, when they're playing ballads, they don't play the written melody, they embellish it. So take something that's mid-tempo. That's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing that you need to do, and this is a term that's coined by Edwin Gordon, it's called audiation. You need to be able to have the ability to recall that tune at any time, whether you just heard it or whether you heard it 5 years ago. And the way you do that is listening to the tune a ton of times. Okay, many different variations of the tune. Okay, versions I should say of the tune. So audiation is the next step, and that's really the key to recalling tunes. In fact, if you ask somebody, hey, can you play this tune? You're going to notice that they're going to look away for a second, try to hear it in their head, and then they're going to go. Okay, so audiation is really key. The third thing that's going to really help you memorize tunes, and this is a tricky one, and people are going to kind of fight back on this, but it is best to learn the melody by ear. Now, some of you are going to say that's too hard, I don't have the time, it's too complex. Well, think of it this way. The way you learned your language is by ear first, and then you figured it out by reading it and stuff like that. If you rely on sheet music to learn a tune, it's not going to be there. I could tell you from my own story, when I first started gigging with cover bands, and I'd learn a ton of tunes, I'd listen to the tune, figure it out, write it down, and forget about it. And I'd say, oh, I'm a great reader, I'll just read the chart. Well, to this day, I don't remember many of those charts and even though I played the tunes a million times, it's because I didn't internalize it first. So try to learn that melody by ear. And remember, if you're doing jazz, the real book is a guide. It's not the exact version of the tune that you hear, in the videos or live. Okay, so it's really best to learn that melody by ear. Now, here's a bonus tip for you. If you really want to internalize a tune, dive deep into it. Learn all the elements. All right, learn all the chords. Learn the individual notes that make up the chords. Listen to how they sound. That's how you really own and internalize a tune. Okay, so hopefully this video helped you. Now, if you want to get to the next step in your playing, well, there's a link below in the show notes. Click on that link, tell me a little bit about yourself so I can get an idea of where you're at, and then you're going to get a free video lesson that's going to bring you to your next best step to improving your playing. So thanks for joining me. Take care, and we'll talk soon.